Welcome to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness, a podcast where we talk about the Constitution, politics, history, and pretty much anything else I want to talk about. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, I already said that, youtube.com/Annette Talks, and AnnetteTalks.com. I think I've covered all the places you can find it. And today we're going to be talking about how to find guns and ammo during difficult times, because we are in difficult times. And so I am joined today by an expert, Nate Otteson. Hi, Nate.
Hey, how's it going?
Did I pronounce your last name right?
Otteson, that's right.
Oh, excellent. So you and I know each other from Facebook, right?
Sure.
You know, it's funny because I have over 4,000 Facebook friends now. And I was just thinking about this yesterday, that probably half or more of my guests have come from the connection through Facebook, because I'll put some topic out there or something out there, and they'll reach out. Like you reached out to me. I knew you were a gunsmith, but you reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to do this episode? And I was like, heck yeah. So
Yeah.
Biden is about to be inaugurated. By the time this posts next week, he will be in office, and we know he's not gun friendly. And we know that Democrats now occupy or have the majority in all three branches of government. So there's probably going to be some gun regulation coming down the pike before you know it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've become scarce in the meantime. So first of all, I got ahead of myself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you're a gunsmith, but how else do you know about guns and everything?
Well, that's a good question. I was at college. I was getting degrees in literature and history when I accidentally got a job in a little gun store. And my wife at the time, ex-wife now, she said, you ought to look into being a gunsmith, because people were bringing their guns into me and I was fixing them there at the store. And I started making more money fixing guns for them than I actually did selling them. So I looked into that, and one thing led to another. And so for the past 28 years now, I've been a professional gunsmith.
So what exactly does that mean? Because for some reason I have in my mind that you make guns. Do you make?
I do that some.
You do, but mostly you're cleaning and fixing guns and.
Yeah, repairing, restoring. One of the things that I specialize in, because guns is a lot like being a gunsmith, is a lot like being a doctor. I mean, it's a lot like being a doctor. And if you're a general practitioner, you can do okay, but if you're an anesthesiologist, you'll make more money, right? It's the same with gunsmithing. And I could see right there in the beginning that I needed to specialize in shotguns. And so what I do is I specialize in restoration and rebuilding of Edwardian and Victorian era shotguns. But I also work on revolvers for law enforcement. That's my backup specialty. But I can do just about everything else, just as sort of a hobby. I do a lot of gun fitting. Like your clothes, your gun has to fit you. And so I spend quite a bit of time adjusting guns for people so that they can shoot them better.
Oh, that's awesome. And that reminds me, I put a call for questions out on Facebook yesterday. And one of the ladies had a question about what women should buy and where they should get trained and things like that. Yeah. I think we'll save that question for our next episode, because you and I talked about we're going to do another episode, what I'm probably going to call Guns 101. And so in that episode, we're going to cover what all the different guns are, because there's a lot of people like me who are pretty clueless. Like, I've shot some guns and, you know, it's been fun, but I know a revolver versus non-revolver. See, I don't even,
yeah.
I don't know. And so people like me would be really interested, I think, and like how to fit guns. Like, I wanted to carry one in my purse. And so I want to talk about things like that in that other episode as well.
Well, great. We'll cover that then.
Sweet. So I think I have a feeling that we could talk about guns for several episodes and not run out of material to talk about.
Sure, probably. So one of the things that I've discovered is I've been doing this for, like you said, for years and years and years, and I don't know very much at all. I've just scratched the surface of what there is to know, and yet I've got volumes of knowledge in my head. So
that's awesome. So I know people are probably wondering then, you're in the Houston area, right?
I am in the Houston area.
So do you only take guns from people that come into your store, or do you like take anything in the mail, or I don't know how that works?
Sure. I've got, I would say about 2/3 of my clients are mail in. They
Okay.
mail their stuff to me. I get stuff from all over the world: India, Great Britain, Australia, um, Italy, Germany. I
Wow.
get stuff from everywhere. Yeah.
So how can people reach you if they want to send you something?
Briley.com.
What.com?
Just Briley, BRILEY.com.
Briley.com. Briley.com. Okay.
Sure. Or they can just look it up and call. Now, one of the things about that is they won't be able to get right to me. They keep me chained to a bench and they keep me working. And I have a whole sales staff for talking to people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, but they could send a gun to you and have you work on it, or
Sure.
company
Now,
would work on it.
if it's a shotgun, I'll probably work on it. If it's a rifle or it's a handgun, it'll be one of the other guys that work there.
Okay.
There are 5 full-time
Yeah,
gunsmiths.
see, I had no idea this was even a thing. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
good to know. All right. So also, right before we came on the air today, I was talking with a gentleman who's in Oklahoma, I think, and I told him we
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing this episode, and he said that there was a company, Union Metallic Cartridge in Arkansas, that he
Yeah.
says they're operating at full capacity. People are buying the bullets as fast as they can make them. Is that pretty
Yes.
much the same everywhere right now?
From what I understand, they are either importing or manufacturing as much as they can. They're running 24/7 shifts from what I hear. Now, I don't make ammunition, but from what they're telling me, they're all running 24/7. Now, the last time there was an ammo shortage, a lot of ammunition companies bought new machinery and hired new workers to try to meet the demand. And then when the demand, sort of shut off, they were left with all that machinery and all those extra employees they had to lay off. And they don't really want to do that again.
Wow.
So that's part of the problem. We've had 7 million new gun owners in 2020.
Wow.
And if you think about that, 7 million new gun owners outside of the regular amount, if they bought 2 boxes of ammunition each, that's 100 rounds. That's 700 million rounds of ammunition that they didn't sell last year.
Ah.
And that's part of why we have a problem.
And
Uh,
also, isn't because of that, isn't the price of ammo? I've heard the price of ammo has gone up a lot.
it has a lot. Now, one of the problems with that is, and we should talk about, where and how to get ammo as we're doing this, but
Mhm.
you can buy a lot of ammo online through auctions, and that's where the prices are outrageous. If you go to gunbroker.com and you try to buy some 22 long rifle ammunition, you'll pay more for 22 long rifle ammunition around than you paid for a box of it last year.
Wow.
And so, unless you have to have ammunition right now from Gunbroker, I'd say stay away from all of your auction sites because they are just too expensive right now.
Yeah, my mom actually went to Walmart and they were all out of ammo. This was maybe a month ago or so.
Yeah. So that places like Walmart, they're not going to be able to get ammo right now, and I'll tell you why. It's interesting about the gun industry. It's a lot smaller than people think, and um, the people in the gun industry by nature have really long memories, and Walmart hasn't been kind to the gun industry. And because of that, they're not going to get ammunition right now. And so one of the best places to find ammunition right now is the exact opposite of Walmart. So one of the ways that you can find ammunition for a fair price right now is you need to go out, get in your car and drive to a small town and look for a little mom and pop gun store. A lot of those mom and pop gun stores, particularly if they're an hour out of major metropolitan gun centers, they still have a lot of ammo. And here's the thing about them. Usually from the distributors and the wholesalers, if they've been there for a while, they've developed contacts with the salespeople there and they've made friends. And they're like, hey, listen, I know that you've only got a limited amount of 9mm or only a limited amount of 38, but send me a few boxes. And those people they'll send you, a case or two to those smaller stores. Houston is a really good example. I have a friend who runs a shop called Carol's Gun Shop, and it's not actually in Houston. It's out in Wharton, and it's about an hour southwest of Houston. And he's got ammo. Now, he doesn't have everything, but what he does have is 9mm and 223, which is what most people want. And he has a lot of it. Now, it's a little more expensive than normal, but because his name's John, because John is an honest person, he's a little more expensive, but he's not gouging anybody. And that's the kind of shop, if you want ammo, you've got to try to find a place like that. And they're all over the country still. You just have to look for them.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never would have thought that. What about places like Cabela's? Are they?
Sure. In Texas, we have Academy and we have Cabela's. Those people are going to have some of that because like I said, they've always been kind of the firearms industry. They've stood behind them. We've got a company called Dick's here too, and Dick's has not been good to the firearms industry, and consequently, they have almost no ammunition. But Academy's always been supportive, and they have a little bit. But there's two problems with Academy. One of them is there are these people who are, and I guess you get them whenever there's a crisis. They're kind of like vultures. They go around and they know what the deliveries, when the stores are getting the deliveries, and they're going around and they're trying to be there when the trucks unload and bring out the ammo so that they can get that, and then they can bring it and they can put it on GunBroker and sell it to you for really inflated prices. So what you've got to do is you've got to be ahead of those guys. So if you're like, okay, I'm going to go to Cabela's to buy ammo, you need to find out when they're getting their distribution usually, and then be there in time to get 2 or 3 boxes. They probably won't sell you more than a couple of boxes, but if you're careful, you can be there in time to get those. Like for me, I know that the Academy just east of me is the first Academy that they drop ammunition off to, and I know that they drop it off on Tuesday mornings. So if I need 9mm, I'm going to be there on a Tuesday morning to get that.
Interesting. Now that's really good information. I don't think most people would know that, especially going out to mom and pop places, and how Dick's hasn't been good to the gun people. Yeah. I didn't know that. That is good to know.
Well, in the mom and pop places, they need the support, and it's been frustrating because I've watched over the last 25 years those mom and pop places struggle because they can't give you as good of prices as Walmart can. But they're always giving you the service, and it's so frustrating for them because, when you go out and you buy a Glock at Walmart and you get it really cheap, and then you have a problem, so you go out to Bill and Betty's mom and pop store and you say, this doesn't work. Why? They're like, well, you didn't buy it from us. Why should we take good care of you? And they're like, well, because you're my local gun store. And it's been hard on them. And this is kind of a little bit of it should be a wake-up call to the industry that we need to remember to take care of those people. I mean, it's worth that 15% to go ahead and buy from them because they're going to be there during the crisis.
Yeah, you're going to have a relationship with them. It sounds like we all need to find a mom and pop gun store and have establish a relationship with them, and so that we can get our weapons that we need and get our ammo when we need it and get things worked on when we need them to be worked on, and so that they're still around. In a few years.
Where I work, Briley Manufacturing, the woman who runs our showroom, she's real close friends with the SIG distributors. And so even through all of this, when it's been hard to get guns, because we're close friends with the SIG guys, she's always had plenty of SIG 9mm and a few others to put up there for sale. And she's working real hard on being ethical. So she's selling these at 2019 prices.
Wow, sweet.
So, yeah.
Doesn't it depend on where you live too? Because I was visiting a friend. Well, I was in South Dakota and I met up with a friend there, and we walked around. What's the main street? The main city there, Rapid City. And we were walking around downtown, and there was a mom and pop gun store, pretty big one, but they had a lot. They had a lot of weapons and looked like ammo. Of course, I don't know enough to know whether they had the ammo that everybody
It'll look
wants
in
or
little
not.
boxes like this.
Um, there was some, but there were a lot of bigger containers and things with.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
So, but I don't think you would find the same thing here in the Denver area. I'm just guessing what state you're in probably makes a difference too. And if you're in a big city.
There are probably going to be good gun shops in Denver. I wish I knew which ones, and I could say, well, if you're in Denver, here's the store you go to, or if you're in Salt Lake, here's the place you go. But I don't know. I know Houston, and I know a couple of other places. But here's the thing: there's always going to be some gun guys near you who you can talk to. You just got to talk to a few of them, and once they start giving you, once 3 or 4 of them give you the same answer, you're probably going to be able to find the right place that way.
Awesome. So that's the way that we find ammo. Now, what about weapons? Because right now, those are hard to find too, aren't they?
They're a lot trickier to find. They're a lot harder, but they're not impossible. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that. One of them is you can make your own.
If you're just listening, we now have a visual aid up. So if you want to see these guns, go to youtube.com/Annette Talks and find this episode.
This is a Polymer 80 Glock 19. And I'm trying really hard not to use too much jargon here because I don't want you to have to struggle with that. But Glock makes a really good gun. And when people ask me, hey, I can only have one gun, what should I get? I almost always tell them to buy a Glock 19. And when we do the other one, I'll explain why. Okay. But the thing about this gun is it's not made by Glock. The frame's made by Polymer 80, and it's it doesn't come as a completed gun. So when you buy it as a kit, and you have to drill a few holes in it and remove some plastic with the file, and then put the parts together, and then buy some of the other parts and put those together. But because it's Glock, it doesn't require hardcore gunsmithing. If you can put your kid's bicycle together, you can put this together.
So in other words, I can't do it, but there's probably a lot of people, especially guys out there, that can.
Anybody who has a drill and can like I said, if they can put a bed frame together, they can put this together. So there's still some stuff like this. This one's a Polymer 80. This is the same.
That's not the brand. Was that like the model?
That's the company. Polymer 80 is a company. Now, they just got raided by the ATF a little while ago. Biden got into office, and now, we can expect low-level persecution like this. Yeah. When Clinton was in office, they went from gun dealer to gun dealer and tried really hard to put everybody they could out of business.
Oh, gosh.
And of course, everybody was like, well, he's not really completely anti-gun. And I'm like, well, that's because you're not a gun dealer and you don't know what he's doing. Like Obama did the same thing. He didn't try to put everybody out of business, but he said, well, if you're going to be in the gun business, you have to sign the Ishtar agreement, and you have to pay to be a member of Ishtar. And that was, I can't remember if that was $1,500 or $3,000 a year. And that's not such a big deal if you're a big company like us. But if you're a little mom and pop company that fixes guns out in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota, that's a lot of money. They're already working on a pretty thin margin. But I didn't mean to get away from that. Anyway, you can make something like this.
So you order it as a kit.
You order it as a kit from Polymer 80, and you can't get all the parts from them because that's against the law, but you can get most of it, and then you can get the rest of the parts from somebody else. And they'll call those ghost guns. That's essentially what they are. But it does give you a chance to get something like that if you can't get it under normal channels. Now, this is the same kind of thing, only this one comes from Wolf Tactical. And it's actually where you have to make the other one. This one's already finished. So when you go and you order this, you'll have to order it through a gun dealer, and you'll order the frame. Like, I guess I ought to show you what that basically is. You'll order this lower part right here. This is your frame.
Uh-huh.
And that's the part that's legally the gun according to the ATF. So you'll order that and you'll fill out a 4473, and then you just put these little parts on the inside. It looks complicated, but it's not. Glock is really easy to work with, and then you just put your top end together. You can order top slides from a half a dozen different places.
So you're ordering the parts separately, basically, and then putting it together yourself.
Yes. And you can still get stuff like that out there. There's still a lot of those out there. Another thing that a lot of people can do, if they can't get what they'd regularly like to get, you can still get stuff like this. This is a TT-33 Tokarov. It's surplus. It's a Russian, well, this one's Chinese. A lot of these are out there. A lot of them are Yugoslavian or Bulgarian. But there's a lot of stuff like this, surplus stuff like this, still available online from companies like aim.com or classicweapons.com. All you have to do is type in surplus pistols for sale, and a lot of that stuff, it'll run up just like this. You'll find Tokarovs like this. These used to cost about $200. Now they're about $350, but they're a pretty good value.
Still get a gun for $350.
And the thing that is nice is they're a little crude, because I mean, this is a Soviet gun, right? They're a little crude, but they work. They're almost indestructible. They're not very expensive, so they may be a little crude, but they're going to cover what you need.
And what are they called?
Tokarovs, but there are more than just Tokarovs out there. There are some Makarovs and some other things like this.
Soviet and Chinese guns.
Soviet and Chinese military surplus. Okay. This is another good example. There are still a few of these floating around out there. This is a surplus gun that you can just buy. It's a Nagant revolver. It's Russian also. I know in a minute you're gonna be like, all the stuff you have that's surplus is Russian, but there are a lot of these floating around out there, and they're not very expensive. And the nice thing about this is, okay, so it shoots a cartridge. Let me see, where did it go? I had some of them here. It shoots a really unusual cartridge. I don't know if you can see the box of ammo here.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about this is it doesn't have to be 7.62 Nagant. It'll actually shoot 32 Smith & Wesson long, which is one of the cartridges that seems to be real easy to get still. And so this will shoot a couple of different kinds of ammo.
And that's a revolver. That much I can tell.
It is. It's a revolver because the cylinder revolves.
So, you know, to me, it's easier to, because I don't know, it's easier to shoot a revolver than the what do you call it? We have to pull it, slide back.
Yeah, a semi-auto. Yeah, it is. It's a lot easier to shoot a revolver. Here's the thing. So you've got a learning curve, whichever way you go. But the learning curve on an auto kind of goes like this. Where on a revolver, it's a lot slower, but it's harder to learn to shoot really well.
Which is a revolver?
Both of them take about the same amount of work, but the revolver's easier to start with.
Oh, okay.
I also I recommend a little model J-frame Smith & Wesson like this for
that's a revolver too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now these are a little hard to find right now, but if you're listening to this podcast in a year, they're still going to be all over the place again, and they're still available if you keep looking for them. This is a Smith & Wesson J-frame. This is a 440. Yeah. Okay. That just talks about the size. Let me just give you a comparison. This is a 357 Magnum, and it's a K-frame, and see, it's bigger. It's considered. Can you see? I don't know if you can tell.
Put them up side by side.
Like that?
And then hold them up a little bit.
Boy, like that.
Up. There you go. Oh yeah, now I can see the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The K frame is a lot bigger than the J frame.
Right, it is. It is.
Mhm.
These are small. These are little 5-shot guns, but they're really nice because you can just load that cylinder and close it, and you can put it in your dresser, and it's going to be fine for the next 100 years.
Wow.
Uh, Another reason why I really like guns like this for beginners, and we're starting to get onto the 101 why you should buy this or that. But I'll tell your people really fast since we're here. See, if you get a gun like this, you can take it, you can go right down to your drugstore and buy a lock, like a padlock, and you can put it right here behind the trigger, and it's absolutely safe. You can't pull the trigger. So if you want something that's safe when you have kids in the house, but you want to be able to have it available to you really fast, just get a little locker lock that's a combination lock and put it behind there. And for next to nothing, you've suddenly made that gun absolutely safe, and you can use it because you can be like, oh, here's the numbers. In a crisis, you can probably remember those, and these are just easy to use.
Yeah, that's awesome because people like me, I don't own any weapons right now. I would like to, but one of the things that's been holding me back is I have 3 kids at home.
Yeah,
And so I'm thinking, okay, there's the outlay for the guns, there's the outlay for learning how to shoot the things, how to clean them, and
yeah,
then a gun lock or locker or whatever, safe
yeah, a
to
safe.
put them
Yeah,
in, all this. And I'm like, it's way too much, but it sounds like something like that I could do a lot easier and cheaper to just get something like that and lock it. And at least that takes away having to buy a safe right away.
it does, and so that way you can have that in your house, and it's safe, and your kids aren't going to get to it when you don't want them to, but it's still accessible, and you don't have to start a big outlay. A 442 or a 642 like that, they aren't a very expensive gun. Um, during it's not a crisis time, you can usually pick one of those up for about $350.
And right
And
now, what are they about that or?
yeah, well, one of the nice things is most of the people in this business who are selling, like the mom and pop stores, they're going to charge you about $450. They aren't going to hurt you because it's hard times. uh, like where I'm working, they wouldn't charge you more for it than they normally would, as long as they didn't have to pay more for it. So
Right.
they won't gouge you, and you should be able to get one for about $400 if you keep looking.
Okay.
Just look for a J frame. One of the things about J frames is they come in a lot of different. Oh, here, see, now I can see what I'm looking at. This
Uh-huh.
one's a J frame too. It's if you look close at it, you can see how they're really related.
Uh-huh.
The actual frame size is the same.
Mm-hmm.
This one has a longer barrel, and this is a 38, right? This is a 38, and so it has 5 shots. This one is a 32 Smith and Wesson, and so it has 6.
Oh, okay. I
Because
didn't even know. I know I've heard of 6 shooters, but I didn't know there were
yeah,
5 shooters. So,
there
so
are 5
the most
shooters.
important question I have about those is, do any of those come in pink?
Yes,
Really? I was
yes.
kind of kidding about that, but
No, Smith and Wesson they've made these guns in pink. Um, and they used to make them in pink a lot, but then there was a sort of feminist backlash.
oh gosh, come on, ladies.
Yeah, they were like, I don't want all my guns pink, for heaven's sake. And so then
Well,
they made
what?
them in a,
Not all of them, but one would be nice.
oh yeah. And then they made them in a dove gray for a while, a kind of nice, tasteful dove gray. But here's the thing, if you find a J frame that you like, you can send it to me, and I'll have it Cerakoted pink for you, and I'll have them laser your name and Annette talks on it someplace, so that
Really?
you can brag about, hey, I got this gun and it's my gun. Yeah, I'll take
That
it.
would be awesome.
Yeah,
Seriously, that would be
I
so
had
cool.
if you can, I don't know if you can tell, this little Polymer 80 gun that we were talking about earlier, it's
Uh-huh.
green, not
Oh, no, it looks
not
black
black.
here. Well, it looks
Yeah,
like the top is black, but the bottom is more green, but it's all
yeah,
green?
yeah, it's all green. I'm a little upset because the guy was supposed to make it a nice flat olive drab, and instead he gave me plastic army man green, and
Oh,
I was kind of unhappy with him. But it's green. It's not, and you can get these in pink.
Oh, sweet.
So if you want a Glock 19 in pink, that's a thing that we can do for you.
I didn't know you could engrave your name on it either, though. That makes me want to go someplace where they have open carry, just so I can,
Yeah.
have
In
it on.
Texas, we call those barbecue guns. We make them very fancy so you can wear them open to the barbecue. Yeah,
That's
this is,
awesome.
in fact, this one's my barbecue holster for this gun. I don't
Oh,
know if you
okay.
can tell. Yeah, it's all tooled and cowboy fancy.
Is Texas all open carry or no?
Texas has open carry. If you've got a concealed carry permit, you can open carry.
Hmm. Cool.
Now, before I forget, one of the things that you can do to make your ammunition search easier is to get a gun like this. Like I said, this is in 32 Smith & Wesson long. There's still a lot of that out there because this is an unpopular cartridge.
What the cartridge again and tell us what it is because people can't see it.
I'll take one out and show it to you here, and I'll compare it. So here's a 38.
All right.
Yeah, and this is a 32 Smith & Wesson long. Now,
Okay.
you can tell it's a lot smaller cartridge, and it's not as effective, right? So if you have a rhino on PPC coming at you, it's not going to stop him,
Right.
But it's effective for normal people under normal circumstances. I got shot once and it hurt. You don't ever want to do that. You want to avoid that, and most people will want to avoid getting shot. The other thing that's nice about a 32 Smith & Wesson is that it doesn't have as much recoil, and this is my revolver teaching gun. So if I had you down here in Houston and we were going out to shoot the first time, this is the gun I'd take you to shoot because it's less noise, it's less recoil, it's just a lot easier to shoot. A little 32 like this, it's almost always cheaper. You can find ammunition for it. If you think outside of the caliber mainstream box, it can help you out a lot. And in all of the ammo crises we've had in the past, if you weren't shooting 38, 357 Magnum, 380, or 9mm, you could find ammo for what you wanted. You could find, all of that Nagant that I showed you or the Tokarev. You could find ammunition for those really easy. I even built. This is a 1911, right? This is John Browning's masterpiece gun, right?
Okay.
And I built this one in 38 Super. It's an out of the mainstream kind of cartridge. It was really popular in the 30s, but then it kind of lost popularity until the 70s, and it was popular for a while again. I built it simply because I figured if there was going to be another ammo crisis, I'd be able to buy ammo for it. Well, I was wrong. This ammo crisis is worse than any of the three that we've been through before, and people bought everything.
Wow.
And so, unlike last time when I'm like, look, I've got my 38 Super, and all you people 9mm, well, it didn't work out that way this time. People bought 38 Supers. They figured it out. They bought all the Tokarevs. They bought everything. They were just like locusts. So if you're in that situation now and you can't find a 32 Smith & Wesson, or you can't find a 3220 or something outside of the mainstream, you can't find any of that, there's a couple of other things that you can do. And one of them is you can go to older technology.
Wow. If you're not watching, you really should watch, because what is this? It just looks really old.
Well, this is a replica. It's not the real thing. I wish it were the real thing. If it were the real thing, I'd sell it and buy it and pay off my mortgage and buy a new truck.
Yeah, it would be worth it.
This is a replica of a Walker Colt.
Hold it up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. This
There
is a replica of a Walker Colt, and it's the first really successful revolving pistol. You could call it the gun that started to win the West. You could call it the gun that won the Mexican-American War if you wanted to. Porter Rockwell, if you guys know who he is, he used to carry a few of these. I don't know how he carried a few of them because this thing is heavy.
Yeah.
I think there's more metal in this than the average Volkswagen, but
Wow.
it's fantastic. And for its time, it was an amazingly effective weapon. It's a revolver, right?
Uh-huh.
And of course it has 6 shots, and you're sitting there going, okay, but it looks different. And you're right, it is different, because instead of having a metallic cartridge, right, you loaded a cap and you put powder and a ball in there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is old school.
It is old school, but here's the advantage of this, right? In 1968, they passed what was called the Gun Control Act of 1968. And what that did is it said, okay, everything made after 1898 is a modern weapon. And if you're going to buy a modern weapon, you have to fill out a Form 4473, and now you have to do a background check and all of that stuff. Guns like this do not count.
Ah,
Uploaders are not part of that. So if you want, you can buy this through the mail. You can go down to your pawn shop and you can buy it without filling out a 4473. It's the last kind of free gun that you can actually own.
so if you're a felon or if you have some other issues or something like that,
Yeah.
that's a way to get around a background check.
Well, I'd like to put it this way. Let's say you had some trouble in your past and you still want to defend yourself, or you need a second chance. Muzzleloaders count as a second chance.
All right. So how
And
hard is it to get the what is it, the ball and powder or whatever it is that you have to put in there?
it is really easy. You can. These are the caps. You can just buy these at your Cabela's.
It's a Remington.
And
What's it say on it?
oh, this is a Remington.
100 number 10 percussion caps. Okay. I had to, so the people that are not watching, they should come and watch, but so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah, these are just, like you said, these are Remington percussion caps. CCI makes percussion caps. Any number of people make 10 or 11 percussion caps. 10 or 11s are going to fit on all of your originals and all of your Italian replicas. You should get both kinds and see which ones work best on your gun. But if you can't get them, and then this is a little bag of balls, right? Those are the balls that you
So
shoot in them.
funny, yeah.
Yeah, and even during the worst of this crisis, you can still get that stuff.
So
You can
how
get
hard is
black
it
powder.
to load this thing up to get one shot?
So here's the nice thing about this, right? I don't know if you can see this, but during the Civil War, they started to make paper cartridges for these things.
Uh-huh. And that's
And
a
so
little ball on the end there. It looks like it's a little ball with a paper cartridge around it, and there's
it's
powder
got
inside there.
powder inside the paper.
Okay.
And this paper is it's flammable. What it is it's coffee filter treated with nitrate.
Oh.
And so you can just make a paper cartridge for these. You can take your coffee filters and you can treat them with nitrate. There's a lot of videos online. Era's Gone Bullet Molds has a great video on how to make your own paper cartridges like this. So you can take a gun like this and you can load it almost as fast as you can. This is another example. This isn't a Walker. This is an 1858 Remington. It's not an original because it has a brass frame. Remington never did that, but you can still get guns like this for 150 bucks.
So that's the same thing where you would need to make cartridges?
Yeah, you want to make cartridges for it.
So it looks like it's a revolver. So does that mean you could put 5, 6 cartridges in there?
Yeah, it has 6 cartridges that go in it. Oops, it has 6 cartridges that go in it, and it's just an ordinary revolver. It works just.
You're just making your own ammo, basically.
It's just like making your own ammo. And I know this sounds complicated, but when you make your first one, you'll be like, oh man, Nate was right. That was really easy. And they're really cheap to shoot. And if you're as cheap as I am, you can buy a bullet mold like this, and you can make your own balls from lead that you get from the tire store.
Where do you get that thing from?
This bullet mold?
Yeah.
Well, I actually inherited this one. I inherited a whole bunch of them, but you can order them from. The best place to order bullet molds for something like this is Era's Gone Bullet Molds.
All right.
And they have original bullet molds that would have been the stuff they had during the Civil War. He does research on what their bullets look like originally. He gets engineering drawings, and then he gets Lee to make him molds, and they're easier to make paper cartridges with his bullets.
Huh.
These are just round balls bought from the local Cabela's,
Uh-huh.
but you can make them with the bullet mold, like from Arizgon bullet molds, and it's cheaper to shoot that way. I mean, basically what you're doing is paying for your percussion caps, which I can't remember. I think this cost me $3.25 for 100 caps. And I don't know what powder costs now because I haven't bought any in about 10 years.
Hmm.
Because when I was a member of a muzzleloading club, we got it for $9 a pound, and I bought as much as I could get, and I still have all of it. You can just put it in your powder horn and load it loose, or you can make
So
paper
awesome.
cartridges.
I had no idea that stuff was still out there. That's so cool.
Well, and here's the thing: if you can't get caps, right, and you're like, Nate, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I can't get percussion caps. There's still hope for you. Now, what you could do
Wow, that's a long gun.
is
That's
you can
really
make your own
long gun.
rifle.
You can
It
do
is. Now, this is what they used before they used percussion caps, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is called a flintlock, and I'll just show you
Oh, like a
what they used.
pirate uses, yeah. Or like
That's right. You put a
from the
little.
Revolutionary War period, right? Or is that
This is
Civil
exactly
War?
designed. Yeah. When I was in gunsmithing school, I did my summer internship with a guy named Jim Chambers, and he was the one who made the rifles for Last of the Mohicans. And I made this while I was working for him. But you can get kits for these things, where anybody with reasonable skill can put one together themselves. And see that
Whoa,
spark?
that was fun, yeah.
Yeah, and that'll just shoot it. So you don't necessarily even need percussion caps if you're resourceful enough to put that together. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, we don't want any guns falling over.
Just gonna. If you're resourceful enough to put that together, then you're good to go, and you can do that. I've got a bullet mold for that I bought when I was in Friendship, Indiana at the National Shoot, but you can get bullet molds for stuff like that, and you can shoot those forever for next to nothing. And so if you're like, hey, listen, I need a rifle to put meat on the table, and it's a tough time right now, you just order some of those muzzleloading kits from Jim Chambers, flintlocks, or doggone it, there's another guy. I'm so sorry. Let me just.
Sorry. This is fascinating. It's fun just looking at all the different guns and bullets. That's awesome.
Well, I do have. I'm not quite done yet. Let's see. Yeah, good. We still got time. I was afraid I would over. Okay, yeah. There's this guy, and his name's Jim Kibler. I don't know if you guys can see his ad, right? Can you see his name there?
CNC, it says Jim Kibler, CNC rifle kits and locks. It's never been so easy to make history. What will you make?
Right.
So that's an article in a magazine?
No, this is his ad. It's a great
okay.
ad. But he's got some kits, and I've seen them, and anybody can put one of those together.
So
They're
if
a
you
little
go to
expensive.
like Google Jim Kibler rifle kits, something like that.
Yeah,
you could find it.
that's what I'd do, and then you can just put one together. There's another thing that a lot of people haven't seen or done yet. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can't hear you right now. You got to wait till you're back in front of your, okay. Oh,
Okay.
what the heck is that?
Well, this is an M1 Garand, right? I know this looks big and bulky, and this is the gun that won the Second World War.
Wow. Maybe you can pull it back just a little bit so we can see the whole thing. There you go. All right. Don't fall out of your chair. All right. Come back. I just wanted to see the whole thing. All right.
So after the war, Congress was really worried about whether or not, I should show you. It fires 30-06 cartridges in an M-block clip like this.
Wow, those are huge.
They are huge, and all 8 of them.
What was that gun called again?
It's an M1 Garand.
M1 Durant. Okay.
Yeah. Now, here's the great thing about this. Okay, so after the Second World War, the U.S. government was worried about having enough marksmen, so they put together the CMP, the Civilian Marksmanship Program. where you could get guns at a discount as a civilian. You could get guns and ammo cheaper than you could get it at the store, and it was available to you. So the CMP is still up and running, and they still have M1 Garands. If I were to take this to a gun show and try to sell it, I'd probably get, $1,500 for it, maybe $1,600. You can buy a gun like that from the CMP for $600.
Oh, okay.
And they still have them. So you have to get a gun from the CMP, you have to jump through some hoops.
What's the CMP?
Civilian Marksmanship Program.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
So if you go to cmp.com, I think is what it is. But even if you just type in CMP, usually that's the first thing that runs up on my search engine. So if you type in CMP M1 Garand or Grand, it'll pop right. Even if CMP M1, and it'll pop right up.
Okay.
And that is a fantastic gun. That people don't give that gun enough credit. I realize it's not an AR-15, but it's an auto loader, and it's effective. You can use it for hunting. You can use it to defend your homestead, and those guns never break down. Well, never. They're tough. I mean, they were designed to go through, landing at Palau and Guadalcanal, and they just run. But you'll have to give them a copy of your birth certificate, your driver's license. You have to prove that you're interested in marksmanship programs. So you might need to either join a club or have a concealed carry permit. You have to have proof that you're interested in military firearms. So, like, for instance, I joined the M1 Grand Collectors Association. I know that's jumping through a lot of hoops, but it's actually really not as complicated or difficult as it sounds. And considering what you get for the money that you spend, you get a lot. So
that sounds like it.
That's a great way. And they've got a whole bunch of guns. They got about 1 million guns from the Philippines last year, and they're about halfway through them. And when they're done with all of those, I don't know how many more guns they'll have.
So are those from the Philippines, were they taken there during World War II? Is that what happened, or?
No, actually, we gave them to the Philippines after the war. A lot of the guns that the CMP have, they were given to, say, Greece right after World War II. We sent a lot of M1 Garands to Greece because they were fighting a communist insurgency. They got some of them from Korea, Denmark, and as they sent those back in, they went back into the system, and since the U.S. of course isn't issuing M1 Garands anymore, they got sent to the Civilian Marksmanship Program.
Cool.
Yep.
Excellent. So is that your last gun?
Well, no, I've got a lot more.
All right. Well, I think that's probably good for this this time that we have. That's a lot of great information. I'm just picturing some of my gun friends just drooling over this episode. So I'm excited to put it out there. Yeah, it should be good. Any other final advice before we wrap this up?
Yes. This isn't going to be the last crisis out there. There's going to be an ammo or a gun crisis again in the future. So what you need to learn from this is to get through this crisis now and be ready for the next one. And if you do that, then all of your friends are going to be like, oh, wow, how did you manage? And you can say, well, I followed Nate's advice. But be ready for the next crisis and be careful. We need a lot of ammunition to test fire. And so we've got a big ammo cabinet. And the other day we went to get some 9mm out of it, and we should have had one more case left. And somebody at work stole the whole case of ammunition from us out of a locked cabinet, just like people were stealing PPE out of hospitals. And so be careful about your ammunition. If everybody knows you have it and they start to get desperate, they might want your ammunition.
Right.
So be sure you keep your ammunition locked up too.
Yeah. it's funny because I have guy friends on Facebook that are gun owners, and all of a sudden they've all had like boating accidents where their guns have gone over the boat out into the water, or other, oh, there was when I moved, all my guns and ammo disappeared, you know.
Yeah.
It's cute that little stories that they've come up with so people don't think that they have any ammo. So, but I can see why that would be, yeah, that would be dangerous if people out there. I don't own any weapons or ammo, people. Although I will get one for protection at some point. So don't come to my house thinking I'm not protected.
Well, we'll talk about what you ought to get sometime soon, and
Do that in the Guns 101, the next episode. We can
yeah.
use me as a test case of what to get for a female who's looking for her first weapon that has kids, because I think there's probably a lot of us.
There are. I've helped a lot of people through that initial phase of here's what I'm going to buy, and you know, we can work through that, and you'll feel a lot more comfortable when you're done.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so if people want to send a gun to you, Briley.com, BRILEY.com. If they want any more advice, are you willing to give out any other contact information? Should they just ask on YouTube or through me, and I'll pass it on?
Let's go through you, because
Okay.
here's the thing. When people get my phone number, they'll eat my time.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't give out your number for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
I've had.
They can ask questions. Ask me at Annette at AnnetteTalks.com. Email me at Annette at AnnetteTalks.com, and I will forward questions to Nate if you have any, and then he can reply, and I'll reply to you.
That sounds great.
Awesome. And we're going to see you again for at least, we're going to do the Guns 101 we talked about, where we go over what different guns are and how they work and things like that, and what a female with kids, first-time gun buyer should get. And then we're also talking about doing another episode coming up.
I lost you a little bit.
What's that?
No, nothing.
Okay.
There was a glitch in my computer.
Yeah, there was on mine too. Hopefully it'll iron out when we look at the recording. But we're going to also do an episode on what knives to buy for your bug out kit and other things that should go in it. So people look forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. So
That'll be great. I can't wait.
yeah, me too. All right. Thanks, Nate, for showing up and giving us all that great information. And I love all the visual aids. That was a lot of fun. And
My pleasure.
thank you all for listening to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness, where freedom lovers gather.